morning. Welcome to our July 5th City Council meeting. Time is 7 p.m. Meeting is now in session. Tonight's invocation will be led by Associate Pastor Tony Rodriguez Jr. from Calvary Chapel, and Councilmember Tabatabai will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. All rise, please.
Let us pray. God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ, we thank you for your love, your mercy, and your grace. We thank you for allowing us to live at such a time as this. And we thank you for the City Council that you have appointed, this legislative body responsible for the policies and direction for the great city of West Covina. We thank you for the wisdom and the knowledge that you impart upon your people. Our intellect, our hearts, our spirit, our strength, our talents, and our gifts have all been given to us by your sovereign will. We know that everything exists because of you, and everything that has been created was created to bring you glory and honor. We thank you again for the men and the women whom you have placed to serve and direct the city for such a time as this. Most notably, Mayor Dario Castellanos, Mayor Pro Tem Rosario Diaz, Councilwoman Letty Lopez Viado, Councilmember Brian Tabatabai, Councilman Tony Wu. I humbly ask that you impart your knowledge, your understanding, and your wisdom upon all, in order that this City Council meeting can effectively respond to the issues at hand as they decide on the consideration of Resolution number 79 to determine the need to continue the local emergency, as they decide on the consideration of Resolution number 67 and 68 to determine renewal of the citywide lighting and maintenance district and preliminary approval of the engineer's report, as they decide on the consideration of Resolution 69 to determine the citywide sewer service charge, setting a public hearing date on the method of collection, and lastly, as they decide on the consideration of number 70 and 71 to determine the renewal of landscape maintenance, District number 4, 74, 75 for District number 6, and 76 and 77 for District number 7. Lord, I pray that the decisions made today would be fruitful and beneficial for all. Help us to be united for the common good of the city. Help us to see from your perspective and not our own. Help us to be the leaders that bring you glory and honor. In closing, I thank you, Heavenly Father, and the Lord Jesus Christ for giving us your ear to hear this humble request as you direct us all. In Jesus' name, amen.
If everyone can face the flag, right hand over your heart, ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Please don't disrupt the meeting as you're walking in. Everybody, we've had issues with decorum. I need everybody following the rules. Mr. Herman and Mr. Greenspan, please don't disrupt the meeting. Mr. Herman, you were making noises during prayer. Please don't do that ever again. We've got a meeting to run. Thank you. Assistant City Clerk, roll call, please.
Good evening, Mayor. Councilmember Tabatabai.
Present.
Councilman Wu.
Here.
Councilwoman Lopez Viado.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Diaz.
Here.
Mayor Castellanos.
Here. Thank you for that. City Attorney, is there anything to be reported at a closed session?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. With regard to real property, 811 South Sunset Avenue in West Covina, on a vote of 5-0, City Council directed staff to reject all Surplus Land Act offers. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Takes us to the presentations part of our agenda. We're introducing and welcoming 5 new police officers to the team. I'd like to invite Police Chief Richard Bell to the front. It's my pleasure to welcome Police Chief Richard Bell down to the podium to introduce the newest members of the West Covina Police Department. These newly hired personnel reaffirms the Council's commitment to public safety and enhances the Police Department's ability to accomplish their mission by providing the highest level of safety and service to our community. Chief Bell, the microphone's yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Please forgive me. My voice is just a little hoarse, but I promise you I'm not sick. It's just been that way for a couple of months now. Good evening, staff, council, and good evening to the citizens out there. I'm going to ask that our civilian staff and our sworn staff please join me up here. I'm sorry, can you be quiet so I can get through my presentation, please? I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief. And Armando, that's twice we've had to ask you. Please knock it off.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone, for being here. As you can see, we have more than just sworn here. We have our non-sworn here. And I believe that all of our employees are important to us. And I want to start introducing not only our non-sworn, but our sworn to the citizens of West Covina. So today, well, actually, over the last couple of weeks, we've had the opportunity to have several of our officers graduate the academy. We have a couple of laterals, and we've been able to hire a records manager, and we got 2 new dispatchers coming up. So what I'm going to do to keep you guys from having to listen to my voice the whole time is I'm actually going to allow them to tell you who they are and tell you a little bit about themselves, and then we'll move down the road here. But I just want you to know that I think it's important that we introduce our employees to the citizens. And this group is special because about 2 weeks ago when we actually swore them in, we had sworn in our 100th officer, which is what we're authorized in the city of West Covina. But I do have some bad news for you because we are down to 99. One of them quit. So we're working to get back up to 100. But I was really excited last week when I was able to announce that we were at 100. So first up, we have our records manager. This is Erica. And I'll let her say a few words.
Good evening, community council and staff. My name is Erica de la Cueva. I have been in law enforcement on the civilian end of things for the past 13 years. I spent a little bit over 10 of those years with the city of San Gabriel as a 911 dispatch communicator and also as a records clerk. And the last 2.5 years I spent over at the city of Sierra Madre as a services division supervisor, where I oversaw 911 communications, the records, and community relations with an emphasis on social media. I grew up in a neighboring city, and I'm excited to be part of the team and of all the greatness that is happening and being able to see the department come to full staff, not just on sworn, but on the civilian side of things. Thank you.
And just so you know, thank you, Council, because Erica is holding one of the newer positions that you gave to the police department this year, which is the records manager, not the supervisor. So thank you. And next up, we have Arlene.
Good evening, everyone. It's nice to put a name to a face to all of you guys. My name is Arlene. I grew up in the city. I have 13 years of experience with the department. Started off as a police cadet. Went to the jail after that, and now I'm on a new journey in dispatch.
As you can tell, Arlene does not like the mic. She's not new. She's been with us for a while. She's actually a veteran up here, and she's taken on a new role over in dispatch, and so we appreciate you, Arlene. This is Arlene Chavez. And this is our newest employee. This is Alexa Honeycutt.
Good evening, everyone. I'm excited for the opportunity to work for West Covina, and I'm grateful to be here. I grew up in Whittier, and I'm 23 years old and very excited to start a career.
You know, when I first started here, we only knew our dispatchers by their voice. Doesn't she have a nice voice? There we go. All right. So next, we'll go ahead. I'm going to squeeze right in here if you don't mind. Put it onto that one. That way you can just pass it down. So I'll go ahead and start with the officers now. So this is Anthony, one of our newest officers, but there's a little story behind him. I'll see if he'll tell you or not, because if he doesn't, I will. Go ahead, Anthony.
Hi, I'm Officer Abeneda. I have about 8 years in the civilian and sworn side for law enforcement. Prior to this, I was a police officer at LAPD, and I lateraled over to West Covina. I was there for about 2.5 years. Prior to that, I was working at West Covina as a jailer. I did that for about 2 years and felt it was time to come back home. So I'm happy to be here. I look forward to working with you all, and thank you for having us.
As you can see, the key word is I came back home. Yeah, let's see. So we're actually very happy to have Anthony. And unlike those that get out of the academy, Anthony will probably be off training here fairly quick, 2 to 3 months, whereas those that come out of the academy, it takes sometimes 5 or 6 months. So lateral's a little different from those that come right out. And next we have Javier.
Hi, I'm Javier Gallardo. I came over from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. I was there for 5 years, 2.5 sworn and 2.5 in the civilian side. And I grew up here in the Azusa, so I'm familiar with the area, and I'm really happy to be here.
When I first joined the West Covina Police Department, we were almost exclusively all laterals. We hardly ever hired off the street, and recently we have like maybe 10 newly hired officers off the street, so we got a good mix going. Thank you. And next we have Austin Henry.
Good evening. My name is Austin Henry. I am 25 years old. I'm originally from Rancho Cucamonga. After high school, I joined the Marine Corps, served 4 years in the infantry, and then got out, went to college for psychology, did 2 years at Mount Sac, and then decided to become a police officer with the city of West Covina. Thank you.
These last 3 individuals are our newest academy graduates, and if you really look at them, they're pretty fit. Would you not say? They look pretty good, and I know Henry's being a little modest, but he actually won an award in this last academy graduation. He achieved the honors for the most physical fit person in the entire academy. He got that honor this year, so you can congratulate him for that. And next we have Christopher Sandoval.
Hello, my name is Christopher Sandoval. I was raised here in West Covina. I was an explorer here when I was in high school until I was an adult. I joined the Navy, did that for 10 years, and decided to come back home. I'm glad to be here.
I could talk a long time about Chris, but when our Explorer program was at its height, we would go to competitions as far away as Vegas, Arizona, and right here in Pasadena. And Chris was part of that group of explorers that we won every competition. That's how good they were. So it is very good to have Chris come back. He set his sights on a goal to go away, take care of his military obligations, called us up and said, I'm ready to be a West Covina police officer, and here he is. So thank you, Chris.
Good evening. Oh,
Hold on. I didn't want to forget this because I knew it. In this last academy class, Christopher won the honors for the top tactical person in that class. He won honors in the last academy. So thank you, Chris. And last, we have Alex Cadilla.
good evening. I'm Alex Cadilla. I'm a native of West Covina. I was also previously an explorer with West Covina as well. Right when I got done out of high school, I went to West Covina High School as well. Out of high school, I went to Cal State LA and got my degree in criminology. And right after that, I actually became a mailman. Finally got my calling, and I'm pretty grateful and thankful to be here with West Covina and be a part of the team.
As you can see, the connection, these young men and even young women, they start here, they come back. West Covina is a great place to work for. And I just want to say to all of you, I'm glad to have you here, both non-sworn and sworn. We didn't lower our standards. We try to get the very best, and you guys represent that. So thank you very much to our new family here at West Covina.
Thank you, Chief Bell, and welcome to all our new officers. We will now move to oral communications. If anyone would like to address the council, please fill out a yellow speaker card and submit it to the Assistant City Clerk. Assistant City Clerk, how many speakers do we have tonight?
I have 7, Mayor.
Okay. Go ahead.
Our first speaker is Herman, followed by Kathy Navarro, followed by Samuel Martinez.
Is my time running, sir?
Your life.
All right, I'm going to read into the record a political statement. And it goes into the Brandenburg versus Ohio, U.S. 395, 444, 1969. A dirty nigger. Send the Jews back to Israel.
Watch your mouth.
Let's give them back to the dark garden, Mayor. You can't save America. You have no idea how to save America. Just like our dumb 46th president who doesn't bother to talk about inflation and the homelessness crisis that we all experience. Everywhere we go, we
Please address the council. You got to address us. Don't
Yeah, I'm addressing the council.
You're looking around.
The council. You're just the mayor. Let's go back to constitutional betterment, Dario. Bury the niggers.
Please
we
watch your
intend to
mouth.
do our part.
Please watch your mouth.
Tend to do our part and give us our state rights. Freedom for the whites, although apparently I'm not white. But who's to say and judge me for being black? A minority. Did you see how many times they shot that one black individual? 96 times? And you're welcoming a celebration of that? It's always the black minority that get killed.
You got to stick to topics on the agenda.
Non-agenda public comment. A dirty nigger. A dirty nigger. You don't shoot people in the back, especially because they're unarmed. It's called due process, sir. And the better word is the First Amendment, the 14th Amendment, the Second Amendment, and California Constitution. But God says to me, why do I hate homosexuality? Because the book of Romans, mommy, verse 1 through 26 and 27, clearly makes a statement, a very bold statement. Like now, I'm making a bold statement. And the reason, because nigger will have to fight for every inch he gets from now on. Now, if you feel that I'm wrong, please dial 213-330-9803.
Please address the council.
And better, if you find that there is a criminal enterprise where threats, harassment, and some jackass keeps telling me to stay on topic is politically wrong and incorrect, because the public issue should be uninhibited and robust and wide open and include the venomous, caustic, sharp, and unpleasant attacks on local government, who again, I said, denied the homeless a place to be at home. And I, a God-fearing man, have to have what said to me by some idiot? Thank you, SpongeBob. You're right. Idiot. And the reason behind that, FBI 310-477-6565.
Address the council, please.
And why do I say that about the FBI? Because Jose Luis Huizar will be appearing in court next year. Mark Ridley Thomas pushed his court date this year into November. And why? Racketeering, bribery, political corruption, Mr. Mayor. See, Mr. Mayor, I got it down to the science. Whitney versus California, Bagdasarian versus United States of Pasadena, if I could. If I could. But I always relate to my information on the First Amendment, constitutional betterment, and California constitutions, because we have rights to be heard. And our opinions are going to be far different and totally separate in contrast to the bullshit you put in the minds of people. Fuck the police. You know why? Because Straight Outta Compton was a great movie. I loved it. It's reality at its base. 42 U.S.C. 1983, politely, fuck you.
Kathy Navarro, followed by Samuel Martinez, followed by Win-Win Zong.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Mayor Castellanos, Rotem Diaz, Lopez Diado, Councilman, Tony Wu, and thank you very much for allowing us to speak. This is Maureen Hines.
First of all, I'm
our director for Project 2911, and
Thank
I'm
you.
Kathy Navarro, and this is Hector Rojero. And
I just want to say this is the greatest country in the world. I'm an immigrant from Georgetown, Guyana, and I've been here for 51 years. I'm the director of the food bank of Project 2911 in Covina. I'm a mother of 6, and I do not know what else to say about here, but I love this country. I love the police department. They've protected me many times. When my husband had been sick, I've called them, and they were there. So that's all I have to say.
yeah, yes. I also want to thank the new police officers who've been installed tonight because they're great. They have served our community, my neighborhood in particular, very, very well. And I do want to thank them. I know they're gone, but I do want to thank them.
Yes.
Also, we're here because of Project 2911, which is the food bank, the local food bank in Covina. Hector's on the board as well as myself. And we're here to announce that you've been so supportive of us.
Yes.
And we really appreciate it. Last year, we served over 500,000 pounds of food to the to San Gabriel Valley. This year, to date, we've served over 18,000 people. So we're still on the move. We're still in need. And we hope that you will keep considering us and the needs in the community for the food that we can offer them. We do come together on Friday. I have some flyers here if you want to set them out, and if you also want to put us on your calendar. We're open Friday at 1 o'clock to serve. What we put in the bags and the boxes are pounds of meat. I don't know how many pounds, depends on the size of the family. Vegetables, fruit, milk, dairy of all sorts, breads. It's a well-balanced meal, and because of your help, we've been able to do this. And we want to continue, and we're very grateful. And that's what we're here tonight, is to say thank you very much. You deserve a big applause.
Yes.
Hector, you want to say anything? I'm a resident, by the way, up on Montezuma Way.
So am I.
Just real quick, I just want to thank the council members and the city for their support for the food bank. It's just been such an amazing help that we've been able to just support and give so much food. Like, I work on Fridays where we distribute the food on Fridays. And it's, you have people from all kinds of walks of life that show up, and you just never know what they're going through. Sometimes they have better cars than others, sometimes very high-end cars. But some people live in their cars, and, they get caught by surprise financially, and they can't make the payments to their cars, and, they're struggling to get some food, so they come in. And, we're known as one of the best food banks, as in portion-wise, of what we give to the community. It's just been a blessing working with these ladies here who have so much experience, and we've been able to adapt to a lot of the COVID regulations and bring a lot of efficiency and new ways to be able to distribute food, with the regulations that, we need to do with COVID. And do you want to mention about the banquet? The banquet.
We also, once a year, we have a banquet at South Hills Country Club. You're all invited. We will send you an invitation to come. We honor someone in the community who's been helpful. There are several of you that we have been considering. And so I will leave these with whoever.
Take them.
Assistant City Clerk.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we actually have a question from
I don't have a question. I just want to, first I want to apologize to some language around here. I'm so sorry, okay, and we have to induce that freedom of speech, okay. I just want to let you know, okay, and so sorry about that, okay. And the second thing is, okay, Ms. Navarro, okay, visit your place last year. Okay, it's a magnificent facility, and they show me everything about their process and how they get the food and how they distribute to the needed person. So, and I know West Covina been supporting you, so you can get the grant and everything. And I think this is such a good, outstanding facility. I think West Covina will continue to support you. But thank you so much for the help. Yeah, it's a wonderful, very close by. And you have a chance go to visit them.
Thank you so much. Yes, we'll be in touch. Next speaker, please.
Samuel Martinez, followed by Wenwen Zong, followed by Jerry Patras.
Thank you, Mayor. Samuel Martinez. I've been a resident here 34 years. My son went a couple of years to South Hill High School and then went on to Mount Sac. I love the previous speaker's comment about I love America. My parents were immigrants. I was the first one to have the privilege of being born here. I have 15 brothers and sisters, and I was the first one born here. In fact, I was born here just a few minutes from here in the city of Upland. I appreciated the event yesterday. It was very wonderful. I did learn something about Councilman Wu, that his line dancing is still a work in progress. Okay? But I pastor in the city as well. And the Bible teaches us to honor those in authority, and that's you. That's those that I'm looking at here to my right. The Apostle Paul said in one of his letters that we are to honor them that are due honor and respect those that we need to respect. Thank you for all you do for the city. Thank you for the time that you put in here. Most of the time, I know when people get up here, it's a complaint about something that hasn't been done. I would encourage everyone to share their concerns and complaints honorably and respectfully. That's what the scripture says. I'm talking as a fellow West Covina, I'm talking as a pastor. The gentleman behind me, I don't understand why they are allowed to offend my city, my leaders, my fellow citizens, and to even offend the concept of free speech. Everyone agrees that freedom of expression is allowed in our Constitution, but not hate speech. I respectfully request that they no longer be allowed to bring their hate speech into this chamber. And in our politically correct culture and society, you can speak negative only about one religious leader, and that's Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. You can't talk negatively about anybody, but Jesus is fair game. I'm not here to defend Jesus. My Savior needs no one to defend him. But I am here to defend you. I'm here to defend my fellow citizens. I'm here to defend the people that are watching us on TV. This is totally senseless and makes our city, my city, the city that I love, look terrible. And I believe that the time to ask them to be quiet is over. The time to tell them that they are no longer allowed in this council chamber has come. No longer, please. I wrote a book on parenting. I've been doing parenting classes for many years, and I tell parents, you don't tell your children, please be quiet. Please do this, please do that. You tell them, please pass the butter. But you don't tell them, please.
Armando, please
stop
sorry,
hitting.
Pastor. Armando, please stop disrupting. Next time you will be asked to leave. You've done it 4 times today. Please stop. No, you clapped also during the previous speaker. Please knock it off.
Thank you, sir.
Continue, Pastor.
Hey, appreciate everybody that works for the city. And I love the city. I've many times told my wife, hey, let's get a bigger house. She likes the house that she's at. She loves the neighborhood, and I love my neighbors. And thank you for listening. God bless you all.
Thank you.
Wenwen Zong, followed by Jerry Patches, followed by Jim Grivich.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members, and Mr. City Manager, staff, and all residents. My name is Wenwen Zhang, and I'm the West Covina Library Manager. The library's annual summer discovery program started in June and is going to go through August 14th. And this program is open to all ages. So I would like to invite all of you to participate and have fun and also earn prizes just by reading books and participate in the fun library programs. You can sign up on the library's, LA County Library's website, or just register in person at any library location and LA County location, of course, including West Covina Library. West Covina Library, right now is still closed for renovation, and we continue to provide sidewalk service and the phone service during closure. And the sidewalk service schedule is Tuesday to Saturday, and Tuesday and Wednesday we open from, the service begins from 12 noon to 8 p.m., and Thursday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Well, for this month, July, the library is giving out a lot of art activity kits. For this week, every week we have different ones. I'm just give you some example. For this week, we have activity cube for babies and toddlers, and we have a tissue paper art picture frames for school-age children, and we have holograph print for teenagers. So every week I have a lot, so I'm not going to say everything, and I'll just call the library to find out and make arrangement for pickup. Thank you very much for your time, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Jerry Patches, followed by Jim Grivich, followed by Mike Greenspan.
Good evening, Jerry Patras, West Covina resident. Tonight, I just have a brief request. It's on the June 21st regular session minutes, the draft that's in your packet. I believe there's a typo in the minutes. It's a significant typo for me, and I think it's inadvertent. On item 18, the action said that it was to approve option 1 and continue negotiations. I went over the video multiple times. You approved the COG option. You discussed other things, but you did not verbally say anything about option 1. Option 1 is the Athens contract as it was in the staff report, and that's not what your discussion communicated. So I'm requesting that you change on the action that option 1 to the COG option. I believe it's just an inadvertent thing. The agenda item was not very clear. It had that COG option really looked like it could be a standalone, and it could have been an add-on to options 1 and 2. And that's confusing. So please consider it. Thank you.
We'll look at that. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Jim Grivich, followed by Mike Greenspan, followed by Frank Williams.
Yes.
It's unusual for me to talk about the minutes. In fact, I don't think I ever have. When you were discussing Athens at the last meeting and trying to resolve the issue, it was somewhat confusing exactly what the council was deciding. So I've decided to give you a transcript of what was actually said. That's the second page of the document. And it's when I read the actual words that each of you said, actually it was just two of you that did all of the talking except for the voting part, it was clear that you did not intend to approve option 1. You specifically were interested in only dealing with the Assembly Bill 1183, which, in other words, you did not want to do the graffiti removal, the street sweeping, the median maintenance, and all of that. That was clear from the discussion. And if you read option one at all, you know that option one of the main features of it was those extra things. And so I'm specifically asking you tonight to amend the minutes to delete the phrase approve option one under item 18. That's what I'm asking for. It's and since I'm on the floor and I have a couple of minutes left, one of the things that was mentioned in your discussion is, and I appreciate it as a resident, you didn't think the cost should be so high for the residents. I thought I should offer you some ideas on how to deal with that issue. One of the worst things in this particular contract is what I call an escalator. And there's a line in there that says each year the rates will be increased 1% above consumer price index, trash consumer price index. That is an enormous escalator. After 30 years, that means each resident will be paying a 30% and 35% increase in their trash rates. That also means that the vendor will be receiving 35% more revenue. Doesn't sound like a whole lot, but then when you add up a couple other things that are in there, it's big, big money. That alone is $3 million a year.
Sorry, let me interrupt. Mr. Herman, you're being asked to stop that. Please stop interrupting. Like I said, you do it again, I'm going to ask you to leave. You're making the crowd uncomfortable. Continue.
Anyway, as I was saying, that 1% escalator is going to cost the residents of the city $3 million a year every year in 30 years after it's fully implemented. Another one, which is kind of a trick and it's kind of hidden, it refers to they need to increase the rates 10% the first year to cover the cost of implementing AB 1383. Well, I'm not sure 10% is the right number, but let's just assume it is. Okay, that's what it'll cost. However, then in another sentence, in a different place, it says there also will be an increase due to what they refer to as the trash consumer price index. Well, that's the cost of trash collection. So if you get a 10% rate increase, just because we're going to give you a 10% rate increase to separate more garbage, then why are you going to get that same 10% again on the consumer price index? Because the cost of trash collection is going to go up 10% when you do the separations for the new kind of trash. So in effect, what this contract would do as written would make it a price increase of 20% the first year, 10% as stated in the contract, and another 10% coming from the consumer pricing index escalator. Basically, the contractor is paying himself twice for the same increase. And that increase, of course, carries forward forever. And in year 30, that's $1.5 million a year for the residents. And so I ran the numbers for myself. I pay roughly $400 a year for trash collection. And what is it going to cost me in year 30? Let's leave out consumer price index.
Thank you, Jim.
Year 30.
4 seconds for the interruption.
Yeah, thank you. In year 30, it will cost me $600, the same trash collection. That's a 50% increase. That is an enormous tax increase for nothing, no actual benefit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Greenspan, the Jew who's not going back to Florida, you Antichrist Catholics. Now, I'm staying here, and I'm going to go to meetings. I just went to one last Friday called the Foothill Transit Authority meeting. And Mr. Herman and I were the only two people from the public who spoke up. Now, there's about 4 or 5 sales taxes that are dedicated to Foothill Transit. Not the entire tax, but a big amount, about 40% of some of them. Well, these are taxes the voters have voted on. The other thing, when you pay your fare, that's only 7.3% of their revenue. We would be better off if we just skipped that. People could enter either door. The boarding time and the exiting time would be saved a lot. There's not much they can gain. That's why these public agencies own the transit company. In fact, that building is not owned by Chase. It's owned by Foothill Transit, i.e. the taxpayers, and Chase rents from it. And I noticed some people playing hooky from the meeting. Rosario did not. She was there. I'll give her credit. But the mayor of El Monte, Mayor Jessica Encana, was absent. She's the one who replaced the political boss's mayor, a guy named Andre Quintero, this big fatfuck wetback who works in the city of Los Angeles for the city attorney. But I guess the mayor of El Monte has big boobs, and that's why she's mayor, but too bad she doesn't show up for the meetings. There were others absent. Then the mayor of industry, she was there at the regular governing board meeting, but was absent from the executive board meeting. Shame on her. Now, I see there's vacancies. There's 5 different clusters, and one is from the county of Los Angeles, and there's a vacancy there. One of the people, Sam Pedrosia, he's not an elected official. He's not a city attorney or city manager. He's just some idiot hack from City of Industry. He's on that board. There's a vacancy. Why don't they appoint Brian Tabatanai? Or why don't they appoint someone from the city attorney or city manager's office? The place is only 9/10 of a mile from here. Do you think I believe you guys could actually go and attend the meetings if you were on the board? But shame on those people who do not. And all they do is offer excuses. It's getting to the point where one time Armando and I went to a public meeting with somebody else, and it was Public 3, Planning Board 2. It wasn't in this city. There was not enough for a quorum. It gets to be sad when people get too many commitments and they can't cover them all. Now, this country club where you're having the event, I wonder if they have Yiddies and Schwarzes as their members, or are you a left coast Timuquana Country Club? Remember, if Jesus were to show up at Timuquana Country Club in Florida, Tim Tebow, of all people, Mr. Jesus, would bodily throw Jesus from the dining room because Jesus is Jewish. I'm sorry, Mr. Christ. Our Christmas dinner is only for our Christian members. But if Jesus were to go in Florida to Mar-a-Lago, and instead of converting the water into wine, but convert it into $200,000 cash and have a period to apply, he could join Mar-a-Lago, because Yiddies, Schwarzes, Madonna, anyone who has $200,000 to join may join Trump's country club in Palm Beach. Just thought I would let people know. I don't know the policy of the country club here in town, but I'm curious. Now, another thing, are you interested in a Catholic education? Need tuition assistance? We can help. Apply for one today, or NEI, whatever it is. Anyway, they're offering up to $3,000 in scholarships. And I showed that to someone, a widow of a New York City police officer, and she said, "Oh, more boys for the priests to fuck." That's what it is. They're luring the kids in so then they could molest them. And they're offering goodies, reduced or free tuition. Oh, and by the way, the Police Explorers, L.A. had this guy named Dave Kalish, queer as a $3 bill. Oh, yes, he explored all right. He explored with his nightstick up the underage boys' assholes. But by the time it got discovered, the statute of limitations had run out. So just to let you know about those explorers, not everything's kosher. And here for the record.
All right, Armando, you're going to be asked to leave now. I've asked you multiple times. You continue to disrupt. It's time for you to leave. Thank you for complying.
Good afternoon, Mayor. Good afternoon, Council. Frank Williams, resident for more than 30 plus years and also a double resident because I also have our family-run business here in the city of West Covina. I've also been a volunteer for many years. I sit as chair for the Youth Sports Council. And many of you have been out to different parks, different youth sports, and our citizens, our families have been, of course, challenged with the fact trying to get back to the new normal, trying to get their kids back out in the parks, trying to get them out. I see that you have an issue number 13 as part of the agenda, and I just want to bring a couple of ideas and considerations to the use of our parks. Most of the fields are run in the youth sports by all volunteers. In other words, there's nobody that's actually paid aside from the any of the support businesses that help, but all of them are 100% nonprofit volunteers. All the youth sports, baseball that just finished, softball, as we get started, the year-round soccer. Youth sports football is getting ready to start up. Matter of fact, they start their first day of practice tomorrow. That's the West Covina Bruins, who fostered many playoff teams and championship, but did a really wonderful job by this city president, Mr. George Ortega, bringing some champions to the city of West Covina. Also, too, the fact that they're all student athletes and help encourage education. So I'm going to try to get through this really quick because I know the time constraint, and of course, take into consideration the field use ideas. So number one, I think there's a huge understanding of the costs to run these operations, to run these nonprofits. There's nothing free about them because it takes a lot of fees, insurance, which is the biggest cost, and of course field usage. Right now, the maintenance that the West Covina Bruins are facing with what's happened to the field over the last few years, now it's kind of rendering its ugly head. We had a lot of people use Cortez Park during the COVID stage. That had nothing to do with the city, and we couldn't stop them. So one of my ideas is going to be, as Youth Sports Council Chair, is to present that we create a field use ordinance so that way the nonprofits with their city badge, because all of them have badges to identify themselves, that city field use ordinance eliminates the problem and the conflict that somebody that shows up and takes over the field can, in essence, pretty much write their own ticket. And the police, there's nothing the police can do because it's an open park. The citizens of West Covina are being taken advantage of because these cities are professional sports, people that are using it for profit, and they're basically taking advantage of the assets that our citizens are having. And now they're going to have to go up to as a side source is up to Big Leagues, the new sportsplex. Every cost that the city programs incur get passed directly to the parents. So obviously, with this being happening in haste, I would consider that the Sports Council figure out some kind of adjustments, maybe with the city manager and staff, that these costs be fixed since they're not going to be able to be using Cortez Park while they repair it. So it's almost like a double negative. Well, it is a double negative. As also, there's other things that I would like to bring to the city council. The fact that the youth sports programs have identified the ability to make sure that everybody has a background check. Everybody has and maintains excellent grades to be able to participate. They also have to, along with their parents, have to maintain a conduct, a good sportsmanship conduct. So all of the fundamentals of what the foundation of how this city was put together in the first place is being shown on our parks. And I think right now, especially with the fact that the costs, this inflation and all the things that these families are feeling, I think it's really imperative that City Council reacts and helps with some of the costs that are being passed on to them. I think there's a way that can kind of help offset that. and make sure that we can make it a win-win for the youth sports. Right now, the soccer, they're paying all their own costs. The Bruins are paying their costs. But this added cost is being passed on directly to the parents. So as Youth Sports Council Chair, I asked for consideration to hold a special meeting, maybe with staff, a volunteer. I'd be more than happy to come in and do that, to extend the different opportunities that I think can be a win-win for this city, as I have been as a volunteer for more than 25 years. So with that, I say thank you for all your efforts. And again, Frank Williams, West Covina Bruins, Youth Sports Council. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. At the last council meeting, perfect example of what's the old saying, even a blind squirrel can find an acorn once in a while. Bill Elliott talked about having the public access to the screen. I thought that was a great idea. Because can you imagine the effect of when we point out how Tony Wu says he controls the freeways? You don't have to say that. He can say it for us, for the public to hear. Things like that. I mean, that would just be fantastic when he talks about my majority. We don't have to say he said it. We can play it. That type of thing. So I think it would be a great thing to have, because then the public, as they listen to us, aren't just listening to us, they're listening to the people who spoke. We had a pastor who spoke a little while ago, talked about the hate speech. We could ask, why does a member of our city council allow her husband to get up here and talk about immigrants are cockroaches? I guess he forgets that some of those illegal immigrants that he refers to have received the Medal of Honor. The number of lives they have saved. Regardless of what your opinion is on that. When we have a person who gets up here who's, again, the husband of a city council member, talk about what's wrong with West Covina is we need more white families. White families. Remember when he said that, I was, went home and I was sitting in my house and I thought about the neighbors around me and realized that there's very few white people. And I thought, I want these neighbors over a Bill Elliott type. It's that simple. But one of the things that I point out anytime we put limits on freedom of speech, cursing, whatever the case may be. I remember a time a professor of mine who family survived Nazi concentration camps in the mid-'80s was talking about the neo-Nazis in Skokie, Illinois, and how they didn't have a right to speak. They shouldn't be. We shouldn't tolerate that. And being the smart aleck I am, I raised my hand and said, Professor, I disagree with you. And I can give you 2 examples of extreme speech that was considered hateful, treasonous, everything under the sun. You could be put to death for it. But it's common today. He looks at me and goes, okay, Mr. Shoemaker, tell me. He said, democracy and Christianity. So we need to let people shoot off their mouths. I'm not saying I'm going to shoot you and they pull out a gun. But jump across. There's a fine line between those two. But we have to let people say things. Even the person who gets up here and talks about how we need more white families in West Covina, or that immigrants are cockroaches. Because what happens is when people say those things, you begin to find out what they really are. I remember there was a time a person out of Louisiana by the name of David Duke, who was head of the KKK. He was picking up a lot of steam in the country because he sounded nice. And he finally started to get platforms. And when he got a platform and started talking, people went, whoa, wait a minute. You're not what you've portrayed yourself to be. Or if he had been silenced, he might have picked up a lot more power. Because people who not necessarily agree with somebody like that were listening to him and he made sense. He finally blew himself out of the water. So as we go through those things, let's be, careful. I know it's not great to listen to some of the language and things like that, but at the same time, people begin to show their true selves, and who they really are as they talk a little bit more and more. So, thank you, and we'll talk to you soon.
R. Robinson.
Good evening. Messenger RNA inventor Dr. Robert Malone suggests that before you vaccinate your child, which is irreversible and potentially permanently damaging, you should find out why 16,000 physicians and medical scientists around the world signed a declaration publicly declaring that healthy children should not be vaccinated for COVID-19. Why would a parent offer up their children for experimental gene therapy? My own family's genes are good enough for me. Stable DNA is healthy, and changing DNA, that's reverse transcriptase. Changing DNA in the vax is cancer. And the graphene oxide and graphene hydroxide is toxic. It turns your human body into an antenna. You become your own cell phone. You get internet access with your antenna body. Graphene oxide. The National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act of 1986 says that no vaccine manufacturer shall be liable for product liability in a civil action for damages arising from a vaccine-related injury or death. The new FDA vaccine recommendations for young children in the light of this manufacturer's liability protection are alarming. There's no alignment between the CDC's statements and the truth regarding the discussion of the new CDC recommendations for young children. Is the childhood vaccine schedule safe? In 1953, health officials at CDC told doctors to give children 16 doses of 4 vaccines by age 6. In 2013, it was 60 doses of 16 vaccines by age 18, with 50 doses given by age 6. Now, today's children are more learning disabled. They're more asthmatic, more autistic, more diabetic than were children 35 years ago. In 2013, a physicians committee at the Institute of Medicine reported that there were fewer than 40 studies examining the safety of the government's vaccine schedule for children under 6. 40 studies. Today's nanotechnology spike protein vax that triggers multiple harms in children. Suppressed immunity, immunologic impairments in a child's developing immune system, and many lifelong impairments and many neurological harms. Additionally, in adult, recent studies have shown decreased male fertility post-vaccine. The FDA committee that just met 2 weeks ago voted unanimously for amending the emergency use authorization of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine to include the administration of a primary series to infants and children 6 months of age to 4 years of age. So anyway, Pfizer's going to make more money. Concerned parents may want to ask pediatricians these 15 questions. Why did 2/3 of the Pfizer study participants drop out of clinical trials? Why is the Moderna dosage more than 8 times as much as the dosage in the Pfizer shot? Why are 23-year-old infants given the same dosage as much larger 4 or 5-year-old children? Is it safe or is it an overdose? Does my child really need this vaccine? Where are the statistics that my child is at risk due to COVID-19? Most of our children have survived the last 2.5 years pretty well. What's in the injection? Is it exactly the same as what was used in the clinical trials? What are the side effects of the injection?
Mr. Robinson?
I have no further speaker cards, Mayor.
Oh. Hi, Mr. Robinson, thank you for always sharing. You might want to consider a forum that,
the West Covina Health Department, you guys have, $500,000 of West Covina's money has gone into a non-existent health department. I'm talking to the West Covina Health Department.
One more card?
One more card, Mayor. Sarah Love.
Hi. Greetings, council people. I just want to say thank you to Letty for standing up last time against Gascon. I really appreciate that. That's a lot of guts. And my district councilman, I am a community member, so please don't ever say that I'm not. I'm in your district. You do really represent me, even though we disagree on the rich white elite Gascon. But I am part of the community, so please don't say that about me again. So that's it.
Thank you. No more speakers? Okay.
No, Mayor.
Thank you for everyone who spoke, and thank you for everyone maintaining decorum and keeping the meeting civilized. City Manager, would you please respond to public comments?
Good evening, Mayor and Council, members of the public. I'll try and briefly respond to the comments that were made this evening. Our first speaker, Armando Herman, is entitled to his 5 minutes when he comes. He's not allowed to disrupt the meeting. We're trying to conduct these meetings in a way which is civil and respectful and hopefully cordial. We want people to have the right to seek redress of their grievances, and we welcome that. We really do. I want to hear about it when people come, and I know all of you do. But we can't allow our meetings to be overtaken with this outburst and the vulgarity and the incivility and the profanity and the racism. It just doesn't help us run a city. Kathy Navarro and her team, Project 2911, thank you so much for being here and for all your good work. I know you meet a lot of needs and you're changing a lot of lives, and I'm grateful for that. If there's anything I can do administratively to help you with your business as you conduct it in the community, please call my office. I'd welcome a chance to meet with you and see what else the city can do to be supportive of what you're doing. Sometimes being a city manager is like being a mouse on a steering wheel. I see what goes on, and I see all the good you're doing, and I thank you for it. Samuel, thank you for addressing us regarding civility, and I really appreciate your remarks tonight. I know we all do. Wen, thanks as always for sharing what's going on at the library, all these good things, reading programs, and continuing to highlight those and encourage people to gain all the benefit the library has to offer. So we're appreciative of that. Both Jerry Potras and Jim Grivich talked about the trash contract, which is an important topic, and I want to speak to that. State law has changed. SB 1183 has now required us to do different things with our trash. We're going to be putting our food waste in with our green waste to prevent the creation of methane gas in the landfills. All of that comes at a cost because it has to be treated. And the way in which the community addresses that is an important civic topic. At the last meeting, I want to be really clear about this. I'm looking at the minutes here. There were a number of recommendations. Only one was approved. and that was, and I'm quoting from the minutes, authorize the city manager to execute a professional service agreement in a form approved by the city attorney with the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments for participation in the San Gabriel Valley Regional Food Recovery Program. The other recommendations were not acted upon. We had 2 different versions of a completely amended and restated contract with Athens, neither of which was approved. The council gave clear direction to the city manager to work more on it. I took that direction to heart. I know it needs more work. I mentioned that to you after your public comments the last time. We're going to give it the attention that it needs and return with it, but none of those other contract amendments were approved. And from my perspective, the idea about the community benefit provisions, does the city want to add to the waste hauling franchise the street sweeping or the graffiti removal or these other things? I think the answer to that at this moment is no. But we've got to find a way to address the requirements of state law. And I know we're going to try and keep the cost to the residents to an absolute minimum. I'm happy to follow up with each of you together or separately and talk about the trash contract. Mr. Greenspan spoke about the Foothill Transit Agency. I don't know that we've had any other business with them. I know they're a very well-run agency, and I know you're Mayor Pro Tem representing the city on that board, but I'm not aware of any issues that West Covina has got at the top of its list right now. I think they're a well-run office, and we're happy to have you as a part of it and on their board. Mr. Williams spoke about the Sports Youth Council and this policy that the mayor has on the agenda tonight, just to send it off so we could begin a staff report about what are the policies for field use, and then the second part of that is what will the charges be. I think the only thing we're going to learn in this process regarding the charges is we will be defining the extent of the subsidy. And we see ourselves as partners in this field use, and I think the city is happy to continue that partnership. I know just today I was back and forth with our Deputy Public Works Director who supervises all the maintenance. The Bruins have been out there even into the night renovating that field. Today we were able to secure a donation of some seed and some top dressing to help them with that effort. We got to work on the schedule because I know that field, in addition to running the clinics and wearing out the fields further, needs the renovations to the turf, and it needs some field rest. So we got to find a way to build that into the schedule too. But we're going to, assuming the mayor carries the direction tonight to have us bring back policies, and I'm pretty sure he will, we'll work with you. And we know all the good work that's going on, and we know that cost to the families. But I think we don't need to look at it as the cost. It's a benefit to the community to have these kids in youth sports, and we want them there for all the right reasons. Thanks for being here. I promise I'll be talking to you. Mr. Shoemaker talked about letting the people speak freely. I addressed that a moment ago, and agree with his points that we should be civil and respectful. Mr. Robinson talked about his opinions on vaccinations. I continue to recommend that people make informed decisions about their own health, and that they do so based on science, having consulted with medical doctors would be my advice. You didn't mention it, but I wanted to. You had asked us to repair the bathrooms outside, and that's underway. I looked in on that project today, the public restrooms. They're putting the scratch coat on the walls, and we'll get them, the fixtures back in place and working for the public to use. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was you. I'm there. Sorry, I didn't mean to engage in a dialogue. I don't want to get admonished. And then lastly, Sarah Love, thank you for being here. I think we were clear on what she was trying to tell us. That's all I've got this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. And Councilwoman Lopez-Viado, you have a comment?
Thank you. Yes, in reference to everyone who spoke, I just wanted to thank both our resident for your words of wisdom. It's very much appreciated, and it's nice to hear the other side. So I thank you both, Cecilia, I believe, and our pastor. When I, for the library, I just wanted to say thank you. I saw the big, large banner outside the library, which is nice that it says it's closed, but it also gives the days and times of walk-in prior to entering the parking lot, so it saves families from actually entering, going to the building, coming back out and then just figuring it out. So it'd be great to know when exactly it'll be open, but I'm glad it's posted outside so the families would know. Question to the city, is the Project 2911 food bank information posted on our social media or informed with our residents on the days they're doing their Friday food delivery and so forth? And if not, is it?
Through the chair, I don't believe we're doing social media at all. Maybe that's an area where we could improve, but I want to work with them and see. Maybe we've got a list of things we could come up with to help support their mission.
Perfect. I mean,
including website and social media and getting the word out further and better.
Wonderful, because I'd like our residents to know, I mean, with inflation and the cost of groceries, every little bit helps. So if our residents are informed the days and times when this can happen and the requirements and stuff, it'd be great. So I look forward for them to work with our city to make sure it's promoted out. So thank you for bringing that and giving that to our residents. For Mr. Williams, I'm actually looking forward to that discussion as I oversee sports in my facility and field use. So I have a few ideas as well, and I look forward to going over Agenda 13 later on through the day. But thank you.
Thank you. And city manager's report.
I've got just a brief report tonight, Mayor, if I may. First, I wanted to mention the summer concert series. We had to cancel the first one, Cold Duck, which is a popular group, because we had a lightning storm that day and we didn't want to have any incidents. It's now been rescheduled. That group has been rescheduled to August the 10th. We just added it to the back end of the schedule. Our next concert is July 13th with Electric Vinyl Classic Rock. So I hope people are able to come out and enjoy those as they go by on Wednesday evenings. I also wanted to highlight that we're continuing with Water Days in the park. The next one is at Palmview Park, 11:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. We're rotating through several of the different parks. We want to help the kids beat the heat this summer. So we hope people can come out Fridays, bring clothes they can get wet in, and bring a water bottle. I got a lot of inquiries about Cortez Park and what in the world is going on with the playground. And so I wanted to mention that. We had put this project out to public bid. We awarded it to the lowest responsible bidder. We signed a contract with that person. He put in place his bid bonds and his insurances, and he got right to work. He secured his supplies. We had a problem during the course of construction, and I mentioned it to council. The pod in which he was storing some of the supplies, an arsonist lit it on fire and destroyed some of this equipment that was scheduled to go in. That cost us time. It didn't end up costing us additional money because it was an insured loss to our contractor. But it's extremely frustrating that we're not able to deliver that project, and I'd like to blame the arsonist. The suspect was arrested, and as I understand it, was deemed by the courts to be not fit to stand trial. But we are suffering from that. We got word today that the supplies which were damaged in the fire have been received by the contractor, and they're now quoting us 10 business days, 10 working days to completion. So I'm going to stay on top of that. I really want to get this one in service. And because we had so many questions, I just wanted people to know what was happening with that. I wanted to highlight our graffiti abatement team. It seems to be really a bright spot this summer, week on week. First week, 9 contacts, 3 graffiti arrests. Second week, 4 contacts, 4 arrests. Third week, 6 contacts, 3 arrests, for a total of 19 contacts and 10 arrests. One of those we were able to thank a person who called in an act in progress, and will collect a $100 reward for doing that. But it's proving to be pretty effective. We've gotten a call from a couple local residents. One of our former planning commissioners, Glenn Kennedy, said, can more people join us for these volunteer projects? And there are some of us that do that pretty regularly, including, I know our mayor was out there helping me fix fence at Shadow Oak Park, and we made some sawdust and got that back in service. But we're going to put out there for anybody that wants to come paint graffiti. This is not rocket science. It's strong back, weak mind work. But if anybody wants to be here, we're going to have wheels rolling and leave City Hall at 7 a.m. on Saturday the 16th. And we're going to go to a park. I've got one in mind where there's some pretty, blatant graffiti, and we're gonna do it. We won't be more than an hour or two, but people that want to come out, and we'll supply the roller brushes and the gloves and the paint. But people say they want to volunteer, and I'm happy to ask for that publicly. If people want to meet us here at City Hall, welcome to help us paint graffiti. We've got other projects in mind for people that want to continue with it. We're going to try this first. I'd like for people to save the date of August the 2nd for National Night Out. We're going to do it in the traditional way the city's always done it. We're not going to have a council meeting that night. I talked to the mayor about it, and we're going to cancel regular city business in these chambers that night so that you can all attend all the different events around town. And then lastly, I just wanted to mention as a reminder, we're having an election this fall. The nomination period is July 18th through August 12th, and people are encouraged to call our assistant city clerk. This is the nice lady here to my left. She's very friendly, very knowledgeable, and she can help people who are interested in that get information about how to do so. And that's all I've got this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilwoman Lopez Viado.
Thank you, and thank you again for highlighting the graffiti. I know the graffiti is a big thing for me since when I came in, keeping the city clean. When I came into office a few months into coming into office, I actually, coming home late from work after 10 o'clock on Sunset, 2 guys graffitiing the walls, and I'm on the phone going home, but I was like, oh no. So I called, I reported in, I followed them until police arrested them, and they did get the 2 juveniles who graffitied. And I didn't get the money, no, I didn't. But hopefully it goes to the next cause. But the reason why I'm saying this is because a lot of residents complain, oh, graffiti out there, oh, that, knucklehead, but they don't do anything about it. So, I'm for rewards and consequences, rewards and punishment. But in this case, it takes a group effort. Our residents all need to be part of this. They can't just sit, look, and just watch and let it be and then complain and say something, oh, the city doesn't do anything. You understand the population of our city, how many people there are here. So if, I did it, felt good that, at least it got cleaned up. Of course, we also call in to report the graffiti to have it quickly removed. But if you see something, say something, in this case, there's a reward. So, kids also, of course, be safe. Your safety comes first. But if you're able to put this to stop that, hopefully they learn the lesson. You saw a bunch of graffiti that, spray cans that the city just took. It just prevents from having our city go out of hand. But I have to say, overall, our city is clean. I work in LA, so, it's night and day, West Covina and Los Angeles. But I just wanted to say, if the residents can also, have part, call it in, report it, get the reward if it gets it. So I just wanted to just mention that. So thank you.
Thank you for that. And that takes us to our consent calendar. Let's see here. We've got 10 items on the consent calendar. Is anyone pulling any items from consent? Doesn't look like anyone is. So do I have a motion to approve consent calendar items number 1 through 10?
I'll motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a first and a second. Roll call, please.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Lopez Viado and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Diaz. Councilmember Tabatabai?
Aye.
Councilman Wu?
Aye.
Councilwoman Lopez Viado?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Diaz?
Aye.
Mayor Castellanos?
Aye. Consent
Motion passes
items.
5-0. Excuse
Thank
me.
you. Sorry to interrupt. Thank you for that, Lisa. Takes us to public hearings. Item number 11 is fiscal year 2021 through 2023 CDBG action plan. This matter is set for public hearing. It's a consideration of the proposed, let me just turn the page, 2022 through 23 CDBG action plan. Will the city clerk verify the proper legal notice has been given?
Proper legal notice was given, Mayor.
Thank you. At this time, I shall open the public hearing on the proposed forward year 22-23 CDBG action plan. There will first be a presentation of the staff report, then we shall hear from public comments. Who will present the staff report?
Mayor, Kelly McDonald is ready to give that report tonight.
Perfect, thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This hearing concerns the fiscal year 22-23 CDBG action plan. The city receives an annual grant of CDBG funds from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The program works to ensure decent, affordable housing, to provide services to the most vulnerable in our communities, and to create jobs through the expansion and retention of businesses. As a recipient of these funds, the city is required to prepare an annual action plan that guides the intended use of the grant funds over the program year. This is the second of 2 required public hearings. At a hearing on March 1st, the City Council affirmed the prioritization of community needs shown in Table 1. The categories are more fully described in Attachment 1. Rental housing was reprioritized from low to high, and staff was directed to draft the action plan with a prioritization in Table 1 as a basis. The proposed action plan is included as Attachment 2. Table 2 shows the proposed action plan budget, which was developed bearing in mind the statutory caps for administration and public services, which the city has historically maximized. Table 4 shows the proposed CDBG and CDBG CV, that's for COVID, funding for 22-23. Activities with carryover budgets are designated with an asterisk. The business assistance and housing preservation programs are proposed to be funded with unexpended balances of prior budgets. And in regard to the housing preservation program, staff will be bringing forward new program guidelines for City Council consideration in August. Regarding improvements, funding for a second phase of improvements at Friendship Park is proposed. This would potentially include improvements to the restroom and parking lot. The first phase, which included a new playground and exercise equipment and other amenities, opened last week, fully paid for with CDBG funds. In regard to public services, the city published a notice of funding availability in February and received 11 funding requests. Attachment 3 describes the applicants and the services. Staff earmarked status quo funding for city-administered projects, which are designated with an asterisk. A decrease in CDBG funding to these programs would result in an increased burden on the general fund to maintain current service levels. Staff also recommends status quo funding for the Housing Rights Center, as doing so helps address a HUD requirement. To digress briefly, at the March hearing, the need for homeless services was stressed. Table 3 displays funding for homeless services. Staff's proposing to fund a portion of the annual LACATA agreement with $60,000 in CDBG funds previously earmarked for the Senior Meals Program. Another $50,000 in Measure H funds toward the LACATA project will be received through the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments. The memorandum of agreement with the COG for this funding is included in the report as Attachment 5. The balance of the LACATA agreement is proposed to be funded through ARPA. The city also has a small balance of Measure H funds through the county for motel vouchers to be carried forward. And additionally, the East San Gabriel Valley Coalition for the Homeless, as well as the food banks listed in Table 4, are working with LACATA and our HOPE team to deliver services to the homeless. So staff is recommending funding for projects numbers 3 through 11, as shown in Table 4. The balance of public service applicants were evaluated by the CDBG Ad Hoc Committee of the Community and Senior Services Commission. Based on a review of applications as well as hearing applicant presentations, the Ad Hoc Committee recommended CDBG funding for projects 12, 14, and 17. One application was not recommended for funding by the Ad Hoc Committee, and that's described in the report. Projects 13, 15, and 16 which are denoted by a triple asterisk, were recommended to be funded with CDBG CV funds received through the CARES Act. This is due to the limited amount of regular CDBG funds, and as well as the projects meeting the eligibility criteria for the program. And finally, as mentioned, staff recommends that the Senior Meals Program be funded through CDBG CV to free up $60,000 in regular CDBG funds for the LACATA program that have been historically marked for the Senior Meals Program. And finally, at the March 1st hearing, it was suggested that a program is needed to provide assistance to those at risk of becoming homeless. researching this further, temporary housing assistance is eligible under CDBG. However, it falls under the public service category, which is subject to a statutory cap. And, again, is something that the city historically maximizes out. And it's also limited to no more than 3 months to be paid directly by the provider on behalf of the beneficiary. Currently, there are no program or guidelines that have been established at the city level. It's therefore not recommended to fund such a program with regular CDBG funds at this time. However, Council could direct staff to develop a program to be funded with the CDBG COVID funds with guidelines that comport with the requirements. That's meeting the CDBG eligibilities as well as having a nexus with COVID, prevent, prepare for, and respond to COVID. So that's an alternative. So the City Council has the following options: to approve the staff's recommendation or provide alternative direction. A notice for the hearing was published on June 3rd. A draft was available for a 30-day review. We received one public comment correcting the name of a county department referred to several times in the draft. That's since been corrected. An approved action plan is due out by July 30th. And that concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer questions.
We do have a question by Councilman Tony Wu.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, I have 3 questions. Okay, the first question regarding I always ask almost annually every time. I think you know my question already. This, right? Which one? The home improvement
loan
CDBG
program?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Why is the guideline based on we're going to approve? Because we've been talking about the CDBG home improvement loan to help the fixed income senior to fix up their home with almost no interest. Okay, and they stay as a lien on their property till they decide to sell the home or refinance. So basically, to help all those homeowners, we have a lot of old home, and I've been talking about six years already. And how can we help those homeowners with a fixed income, and what kind of qualification? I've been asked by a lot of residents. Look like they have a hard time to apply. And so 2 things is, okay, I think we have quite a lot of reserve for this home improvement loan, and I don't know. I want to know how many we basically grant to our resident for them annually. We need to know the number. Hopefully, we can promote to all those old home to kind of apply so we can upgrade their living standard, because there are a lot of I live in 1950 home. When I moved in 1989, it's no air conditioning, single panel window, no installation. The summer is very hot, unbearable. But luckily, I have a swimming pool, so I jump into the pool. Okay, but I was young at the time. But for the senior living in that kind of situation, I think pretty unbearable. And the winter time is very cold. So how can we use the CDBG fund to help those old home, okay, to kind of upgrade their living standard? Because a lot of them in the fixed income. So I've been saying for 6 years, and I've been asking city to kind of follow up, promote, to have our resident to apply. So this is my first question. You want to answer all the? You want me give you all the question or one by one?
Whichever way you would like.
Okay, let's answer the first question that way quickly so I can yield my time. So let's go to the first question, please.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and fellow council members. The HPP program is funded through CDBG. We also use housing funds for it. We are planning on bringing it back to you for your consideration to amend the guidelines to increase the loan amounts. A lot of the home improvements
They're very expensive.
for roofs are, with inflation, have gone up in cost, and so the $10,000 does not necessarily cover improvements. So we are looking to bring it back, increasing the loan amount to $20,000 and amending the terms so that the repayment of those loans are feasible for the homeowners. We're also looking at
are they the interest free, or they have an interest free?
There is interest that is charged after a deferred period.
So it's how many percentage?
So currently, our current program, it's $10,000. It's a 30-year loan with the first 10 years deferred interest and 5% interest charged after that.
Okay, and so we go with the life of the loan. Meaning,
so you repay the loan within 20 years, but so if you pay back before year 10, there's no interest that's charged. If you don't pay it back, then it's 5% interest thereafter, and you make monthly payments.
First 10 years, they deferred, they have no interest, okay? And if they pay back first 10 years, they can just pay the loan amount. And then, or when they're selling their home or they refinance, they have to pay back.
Correct.
I remember the guidelines. So yes, please bring back. I think we need to kind of.
Can I follow up on the same question before you go to the next question? 10 years ago, they didn't have the deferred payment. If you got a CDBG loan for home improvement, it would stay for the life of the loan. I mean, well, either you sell the house or you refinance, you'd have to pay it back. So why did they change it now to pay after this with interest and all that stuff?
The city's had multiple housing programs. So the one that we currently have is a housing preservation program, HPP. We used to have the home improvement loan program, HILP, and that one, you are correct, Councilwoman Lopez Viado, it did not require interest or repayment unless certain triggers occurred, which were correct. If you sold the home, refinanced, or upon death of the homeowner. So, and that program, we currently don't have that home loan.
And for this program, it can't
10
revert.
years.
It has to be. It's just, my concern is, let's say you're low income, obviously you're struggling, and then 10 years from now, they can't afford it. I don't want to put that burden on the resident.
So this is a hard guideline or this is our guideline?
So I did mention we do have two funding programs, or two funding
10%.
sources. So we do have to comply with HUD for the CDBG funded program. So that one does have additional steps that the homeowners have to
This is a
abide by.
CDBG guideline?
We are going to update the HPP program, so that we can increase the loan amount and the list of improvements that HUD approves.
So meaning the HUD approved within 10 years is free deferred, and after 10 years with 5% interest. That's for HUD?
The term of the loans is something, the city guidelines.
So there's city guideline about.
Correct.
So we could change
yeah,
that.
we can change that.
I mean, that is a burden, and that would hurt. I mean, it would hurt anybody.
Because it's only $20,000, not that much.
Well, that's a lot for some people. I mean, that's some of their annual pay. You know,
the income limits too were different for the HILP and the HPP. So I believe the HILP was for the lower income, and the HPP was for moderate income.
Yeah, you see.
So we can take a look and see if we can do something like the HILP.
That is a question I want to follow up: is the income qualification? Who can apply the $20,000 home improvement loan, become a lien on your property only till you refile, pay off, okay, and then you have to pay back, okay, and now maybe it's a city guideline with 5% interest rate. If we can change, maybe we can just as long as you
She's correct on the income, like the tiers. So, if you're extremely low income.
But now, what is extremely low income? What is the definition of income? We need to base on city have to give us the suggestion. So anyway, can you bring this back, okay, with the guideline and the qualification income, and then we can discuss that time, okay, and not the time to discuss right now.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay, so
bring that back.
So you will bring that back. Right now, I just want to mention about CDBG fund. I want to hopefully we can let more people to apply. Okay, I know not that many people qualify or that many people award this grant, and I think we need to encourage people to utilize this $20,000 to improve their living standard, energy saving, and et cetera. Okay, so I think this is something very important, but I need to promote it. And then in your website, you should let people know they can apply and what kind of paper they have to submit online, and so we have some people to kind of qualify and go the timeline just like a typical second loan.
It is available on our website with the brochure, the income limits, and it's, as I mentioned, the two funding sources use two different sets of income limits.
Okay, so let's move on. Second one, then I give my time. Okay, and so the first one, we want to promotion. Okay, and I know currently we have quite a lot of reserve on the CDBG fund on improvement. Okay, so we can maybe help people to upgrade their property. Okay, and second one is about last time we approved the rental assistance program. So, I know we approved from right now is on the high priority. So how much and what is qualification and what is the process that we can utilize to help when people almost get kicked out from their roof?
There isn't a program that's established or guidelines that are established currently.
Excuse me, Kelly. Are we going? Can we get a grant? Okay, and then we have so meaning we can get the funding, and then from the funding we can set up the guideline. Am I right?
Actually, on here it says temporary housing assistant. We could use CDBG COVID CV, or that we can direct that and utilize it. Correct?
That's right.
So we're not using the CDBG. We're using the COVID assistant.
Well, it's CDBG.
CBDG, okay, COVID assist program using for housing rental assistant program.
We can direct the staff.
Am I right?
Yes, you can. Council can direct the staff to come back with guidelines for such a program. We don't have one currently. We would because this report allocates all the CDBG money out because this is a public service. All the public service food banks, homeless services, and so forth are granted a particular amount of money that maximizes that cap out. So there isn't money available to do that with the regular CDBG money. We can do it with CDBG COVID. We'd have to establish some guidelines for a program and bring those back for consideration.
So we want to set the guideline. So are you going to give, or a city attorney will set up, or who is going to set up the guideline kind of for us to kind of approve it? Do we have a process, procedure? Okay, how you want us to do it? Okay, because you guys have to set up, okay, and guideline and come to us to discuss and approve.
Right.
Okay, and regarding who is qualified, how to qualify, how much, how many months, right?
Right.
Okay, and how much budget we have, so we don't want to use up the money right away. Makes sense?
Right. Yes.
And so how soon we can get this, okay, guideline suggestion back to us to set up a program with the funding from the CDBG COVID assistance program?
2 months. 2 months, I think. We could bring back guidelines for consideration.
To you for 2 months. You can need 2 months or 1 month or 2 months is okay. September 1st.
And that's to bring down all the guidelines?
First meeting in September, you can bring some guideline for us to discuss. Whether it will be okay.
September 6th?
You have enough time to get, you can, other CT suggestion.
Right.
Okay, download, okay, and it's copy and paste.
Okay.
Monty has one. So, I don't think you need September. I think you can do it. Okay, in August. But okay, so because all the city already have. Is my point.
That's right.
You don't have to create something brand new.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we just refer some other city and based on their guideline and bring us, and based on our situation, how we can do. So we can make the thing happen. So rather than just put over there, we approve what? We don't have nothing to implement to go to the people who need help. We want to make sure children not on the street, especially family, and that we've been receiving school asking for help. So hopefully we can help them for that. Okay, that's one. Lacada. So that's one. Lacada. Okay, basically we can get 262, not a general fund. We can get this, so we can use this yearly to have a Lacada if they are continue to perform good. Right now we only have a 1-year contract with them.
Right.
Okay, we're using the rescue fund from the federal funding. So now, based on this, we can create this funding, $250,000. Okay, if they continue doing a good thing, we can renew the contract yearly. Makes sense? Is that what this about on the table number 3?
No, table number 3 just outlines for the current year, and there's $60,000 that's set aside for CDBG.
I understand.
Okay,
it's all add together. Lacada costs a contract $250,000.
That's right.
With all your numbers, CDBG, San Gabriel Car give us $50,000. Okay, APPA, local physical recovery, $140,000. All add together. Okay, we can get about $260,000 roughly. We pay for. I just want to make sure we have a funding yearly for Lacada. Because after we spend the money for rescue fund is over. It's only this year. And where's the next year funding? So we don't want to go to general fund. So if we can get our major H monies, some of them come back, can pay for La Carta, then we can continue to fund this, and homeless program, right? Right?
Right.
Right. That's why we try to find the funding source. Then in that way, we can have a funding source. So we can continue to hire La Carta, if they have 2 full-time staff to help us and put them in the housing. Make sense, Kelly?
Yes, it does. We're looking we're trying to identify alternative funding sources, anticipating that ARPA money is going to run out. CDBG money is going to be tight because the COVID money will be down.
Got it. So we just need to continue to find the funding source for the homeless, and hopefully we can get continue to pay this $250,000. This supposedly should pay by the major H money that we pay taxes, but since we don't, but we need to at least doing something. I think based on our report, the La Carta doing pretty good job.
Yeah.
Okay, so in that way, we want to keep them continue to be proactive to help the homeless off the street to put something under the roof. And they have a dictat, mental health, all these things. So anyway, I yield my time. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Kelly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So just wanted a couple comments. I know with the housing preservation program, you're gonna bring it back to us, and just as a recommendation. And I know we're talking about promotion. I think having workshops, especially at our senior center, in order to go through the process. I think it can oftentimes be daunting to fill out the paperwork, understand what you actually need to apply. If that could be part of our community outreach workshops. Again, I think on the tenant relief, I know the San Gabriel Valley Tenants Association has come several times to speak. Linda Jackson, who's a resident of West Covina, if we can also connect with them on programs that currently are available in other cities, so we can again possibly mimic their program. And then lastly, on La Carta, we have all been seeing the reports, and I was going to make the request, but I guess I can share with it now and then make the request later. If we could get an updated presentation from La Carta on the progress they've made, this past quarter since they've been outreaching, and then also maybe what next steps they think we can also take as we're looking at CDBG and we're looking to fund some of these nonprofits. Again, I think that would, as we're thinking forward to the following year, they can start getting us to think, and we have 2911 here and some of these other nonprofits where they can fit in to really make La Carta and our homeless outreach just more successful. So those are just some of my comments and recommendations. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments?
Actually, they both took some of my questions, but it's perfect. You read this. We're on the same page. I just question on the CDBG last year's funds. How come this year seems to be less? Did we I'm just looking at the proposal and the approved, but why is the 2022-2023 actually we did $500,000 less?
Yeah, we did get slightly less this year from HUD, and also we had quite a bit of money in our line of credit that we needed to spend, so that's why we put the larger projects together at Friendship and the street rehab projects.
Oh, okay. But because I was looking at the thing and I just figured, this year we have a higher population because they take that into consideration. So it's because we had money left over?
We had some old money that...
Why would you? Why not? It's one of those use it or lose it type of deal.
No, we don't. We don't lose it. They don't like that.
Well, they don't give us...
They don't like that we don't spend it as quickly. No, it doesn't affect the allocation until...
and why didn't we spend it when there's a need?
Well,
I mean, there's a need out there. It should have been
there's a
put
need
out
out there, and we
used.
fully maximized to the cap our public services. Most of those things were for would otherwise be capital, and so as identifying capital projects, it would be eligible.
Okay, so this is a yearly thing. So these upcoming projects and stuff, they're definitely going to be put to use, and then the
Yes,
next year,
we've
you said we got
pretty much
less, $500,000 less.
Pretty much maxed out our line of credit.
Okay.
Obligated.
CDBG? Less. We received less. Yeah, because we had extra funding that should have been. We didn't use the funding. And then the CDBG COVID, like I mean, I didn't see it, but how much are we getting from that? Or is this proposes for both CDBG and CDBG COVID funding?
No, the table 4 includes some CDBG CV money. We had 2 rounds of funding totaling I believe a little over $1 million. I think in the temporary housing assistance section, it does say that we have approximately 700 that's still available. We funded food banks for, this would be the 3rd year that we have done that. We funded Ultimed in the first year for the testing site that was over on Sunset, and Meals on Wheels and our senior meals program. Those things, they meet the eligibility criteria because you have to have a good nexus with the COVID.
Okay. And then, so in reference to what Councilman Wu just mentioned, which I was going to bring that up with the housing assistant because I was reading this, do we need to move and vote on getting all these guidelines and approval for the subsidized for those rent assistant or anything like that?
We're going to bring those back.
Just automatically bring back?
Okay. On that agenda, when we bring it back, then we'll make the final recommendations as.
And this is for those renting as well as home ownership, right? Like those who are paying their mortgages or rental, because things do happen if they lose their job or anything.
The temporary housing assistance would be, I would expect for homeowners as well as renters, yes. And then the home loan program is homeowners.
Okay.
So that would be coming back, I guess, in August, and then we're targeting the 1st of September for the housing assistance program guidelines.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions or comments before we open up the public comment? None? Okay. Do I have any speakers who would like to speak in favor of this item?
I have no speaker cards, Mayor.
No? Anyone who would like to speak against?
I have no speaker cards.
Right. Thank you, guys. So, all right. Go for it, and then, yeah, you can fill it out afterwards.
The aspect of this grant that I want to focus my comments on involved the senior meals program that was just mentioned, the senior congregate meal program. I was talking to the director of the program this week. I forget her name, but she runs the program over there on Cortez Park. 2 years ago, before the congregate meal program was stopped due to COVID, there used to be a woman. There's about 22 tables, and I think it's more important to keep seniors hydrated, especially in the summer, than to keep them fed. And a woman put out a pitcher of water at the 22 different tables, so everybody could wait for their lunch. And sometimes seniors can be dehydrated, and they lose their sense of thirst, and they don't even realize they're thirsty. So water needs to be really available. It's a public health issue. Anyway, they're not doing that now. There's no pitchers of water. You have to go to the drinking fountain in the building. And I went to the director and I said, hey, I know the woman that used to do that. She passed away. She lives in West Covina, and she's gone now, so she can't do that work. But I said, water's really important. Put out pitchers of water so somebody doesn't keel over and have to call the fire department. So, the water's more important than the lunch, to my mind. Anyway, the director said, well, because of the county and the COVID rules, they're not allowing us to serve water. And I go, that's kind of weird. But I don't know. I wish this council and the staff would check on that because if it's violating a rule that you can't serve pitchers of water on the congregate meal program in West Covina, I think it might increase the liability of the city, and you ought to see about that rule and maybe violate it, because I don't want somebody dying. And so that's the issue. It's just water.
Thank you for that comment. We'll keep that in mind.
And I think it's kind of important.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, with that, I shall now close the public testimony.
Hold on a second. We have one more speaker, Mayor Roland Chloe.
Okay.
Mr. Robinson.
Hi,
Hello.
some of you actually know I'm a resident a little bit over a year, recently moved to West Covina. And what I'd like to bring up is not about the money, but about, you mentioned, Councilwoman Letty, about residents stepping in and stepping up, things like the graffiti. Thank you, Dave Carmi, the manager, for bringing up the graffiti removal. I was wondering, one, where the information about these different where residents can take part, because sometimes I have a hard time finding that kind of information, and be good to know, for everyone to know where to find that. And two, about different groups, kind of like the food banks that participate to assist with, say, the homeless program and other things. I'm in West Covina Lions Club. I'm not speaking for them. They didn't know I was coming tonight, but just as a person who volunteers with a group, I know there's a bunch of different groups like Rotary and other things. I don't know how much you guys work with them, but I'm sure they would be more than happy to see where we could assist, where we could all get together, work on these things, so you don't have to, pay for it, and we can all get these benefits and come together. And I was just excited to hear about this, and I'm a bit nervous to speak because I don't have much to offer here, but I just know we have this goodwill and to come together on that. And I would if I could hear back from I would like to hear back from you or
Absolutely,
other
we will.
people as well about these opportunities, because I think we can really increase resident, what do you call, when they take part in it, as opposed to just in this contract person pay. It's like, let's get together and all be residents together, kind of like National Night Out. I would love to take part in something like that. I'm sure you've already done that for many years, but someone exciting these opportunities. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Very welcome.
I have one more speaker, Mayor, Mr. Frank Williams, and he's neutral.
Good evening. I'll make this quick. I just started getting some ideas, especially listening to the comments with regards to the line of credit and the lack of using the $500,000 that was out there. So as Youth Sports Council chair and volunteer, I asked our new assistant city manager to assist in providing CDBG information to the council and a lot of the youth sports. And I think this is an excellent opportunity for mayor and city council to utilize your volunteers, because you see, a lot of times it kind of goes with the same adage: many hands make short work, and the same thing with many eyes. And I really believe that there is a long list of projects that need to be forecasted over the next 3 to 5 years as opposed to 1 year. I think we're being a little short-sighted of understanding the projections. So if we could forecast what that number is, and I'm pretty good at math, I will tell you right now what we can forecast over the next 3 to 5 years and what we should be doing. Therefore, we should utilize our volunteers that are already out there in the parks, because, putting one lump sum of $1 million, I didn't want to comment because I didn't have the information to be able to make a statement of what's for or what's against. But as an operator, just understanding from our own family business and logistics and being a planner, I always sit back and think about what's going to happen and the impact of the next quarter, the next year, et cetera. So looking at CBDG funds and being past president of a youth sports league all the way back, we got the house removed that was completely obliterated on top of Cortez, which led to removing the barbed wire around it, which led to now where it is, where you have pathways where people are using. So there's a lot of money that could be used if as long as it's forecasted correctly. And I think with putting together the tools that you already have at your disposal, and to be able to push that information down and have that information pushed back up to you to help make those decisions. So that way, when these things are being passed by staff should have a direct connection with the volunteers also, because again, like anything else, I don't know where that $1 million is, and I don't want to vote against it because, I know the parks need help. But if we could forecast over the next 2 to 3 years, I think we can make a better use of the funds and not run into a situation where, because our lack of preparation, we're giving away $500,000, which I know we could greatly use that. So I know it's a delicate balance. I just wanted to offer that because I know that if I sat down with our Youth Sports Council and I said, we're going to get the CBDG and we're going to start forecasting stuff, I know they would all be willing to put the work in. Thank you.
I shall now close the public testimony. There's still a chance for discussion. I shall now close the public testimony portion of the public hearing and ask for council discussion. It looks like Councilwoman Lopez Viado would like to begin.
In reference to CDBG, I know they have so many rigorous guidelines, and that it could only attend to certain things, and there's a lot of restriction with the CDBG. I'm glad that it comes to good use. I know they have the senior meals, the domestic violence victim, the food pantry, the Coalition for Homeless, and the list goes on. But I do want to see if there's extra fundings. Right now, the mental health is a big issue, and youth, adults, and seniors, especially with the whole COVID, sometimes just need somebody to talk to. And if you do look in the industry right now for psychologists or talk therapy, I think some of them just quit because they're not taking new patients. They're not, or it's limited, or your appointments is over a month, 2 months. If there is a portion where we can have or partner up with that is geared only for our West Covina residents to partake into this, whether it's talk therapy or just something, just to release whatever is that's needed. I'd like to see if that can be put to use in that, so that all these the mental, the frustration, everything that's going on, or somebody to talk to, if that can be part of this as well. So I don't know how it works or what it entails, but it's something that I think one state or one city is doing that, and it's kind of helping at least release that frustration. But right now, currently, I know LA County has these resources, but again, they're booked, they're full, it's just difficult. So, I'd just like to see if that is a possibility.
Can certainly look into that and see if that would work. That sounds like a public service activity. And again, the allocations that we're showing here is maxing out what we have available under a statutory cap. So we could look and see if I'll research and see if there's something out there that we could maybe tie to the COVID money and try to make an argument in that regard that mental health due to the pandemic sort of thing. And I do want to make a clarification on the use of the money amongst the parks. We have 16, 17 parks in the city, and the way we have to establish a service area to HUD to qualify things on an area basis. And the only park that qualifies for CDBG funding was Friendship in the current circumstances of the census information that's available through HUD. So that's why we chose to do the large projects at Friendship. None of the other parks qualify. In past years, we've done things with CDBG money at Del Norte, as well as Splash Pad was a big CDBG project, as well as a playground, and the same with at Palmview. We did a couple of park projects over there. But as the census numbers change, the service areas that are eligible change, and that's the reason why Friendship was the target of that large amount of money. And I'm sorry, one more clarification. It sounded like we lost some money because we didn't spend money, and that wasn't the case. We just received less money because of the census information and the formula. It was actually about $50,000 less than what we got last year. We had budgeted so much last year relative to this year because we had a lot sitting in our line of credit that we needed to use because we were getting notified by HUD that we're running up against an issue. So the street project that we have that currently wrapped up, as well as the Friendship Park, that resolved that issue for us. So we didn't.
Yeah, okay, I have a question for you, Kelly. Okay, thank you so much for your explanation. I hope all our park can have the same thing like Friendship Park, because the children playground is beautiful. Okay? Mm-hmm. It's really unbelievable. But it's only Friendship Park because that only park qualify with CDBG for, I don't know, what, $1 million or something? Okay,
that's $1 million.
I hope all our park, with 16 park, we all have a playground similar to that. But, okay, the question I have is, okay, the census. I think the census killing us. I don't know, we have a right lobbyist, because just for the, federal, and the COVID rescue fund, West Covina only receive some similar population like Pasadena. We only receive, $90 million. Compared with Pasadena, they receive $54 million. So we're not even half of what they have. Now you told me CDB, census, that now they even show changes again. So how can we correct? Because West Covina need more help. Okay, we have a lot of population. We have a lot of people need help, and now we get reduced. Okay, would you please? You had thank you. Okay. Otherwise, I have to come. I have to leave my microphone. Okay, so I have to come over here, get closer. Thank you, City Manager. Okay, so my point is, Kelly. So how can we adjust this, because we get shortchanged compared with similar city? So can we do something to receive federal housing to help our resident? And how can we, maybe our lobbyists or something? I talked to Congresswoman, Grace. She told me, she told me we need to talk to our lobbyists, to talk to the federal, see how can we, and give them the number that react to our current situation. West Covina have a lot of people living in the poverty. We need to help from the federal government to give us funding rather than, right now we get cut. I don't know what, $50,000, $500 million? And I would think we should increase, the funding to our city to help people rather than decrease. So that's my question. How can we do it? City manager maybe can pitch in. How can we, we pay taxes, and we want the funding come back to us so we can help our neighbor and our city. So how can we do it? Just compare with Pasadena, we don't even get half of what they have. If we can get something closer, maybe 3/4 they have, I think $35 million, I think we should be happy. But we only get $90 million. So maybe you can share some light with us.
Through the chair, if I may. We're mixing some different programs in our conversation tonight, but I'll take as your direction to continue to pursue other state and federal grants and aids for these purposes. I agree we've got a lot of unmet needs. We probably need to do better about trying to tap into some of these resources that might be available to us. Regarding the CDBG, it's a national funding formula, and in aggregate, the monies that are going toward the CDBG program in federal fiscal 22, it's about $4.8 billion. It inches up like a CPI every single year, but it doesn't increase exponentially. So West Covina is getting its fair share of CDBG, but there might be other sources of funds we could go after. We don't enjoy a federal lobbyist now. You're talking to him, I guess. We're just now got a $7 million grant through the Congresswoman's assistant.
Just a proposal, not done yet.
It's not done yet.
She wants
to get out of the House, and then it has to pass the Senate. We'll continue to work on it. But we can continue to look for other sources of monies because I know we've got a lot of needs.
Oh, I City Manager, I kind of a little bit disagree with you over here. I think we need to do better the formula, and then we need to give them some kind of new data to make sure the formula in our benefit rather than become our disadvantage. Right now, what I see, based on what I talked to the Congresswoman, that we need to change our data to their formula so we can get our proper assistance. And I think this is what we pay for our lobbyist, attorney or somebody in the Washington, D.C., and they need to help us to get those funding, give us a proper, and a return back to us so we can help our city. And we have a 120,000 population, and we're the second biggest city in San Gabriel Valley. So we need to let them know the formula, the federal government need to look into it. So how can we adjust so we can get our proper funding back to our city? So you can utilize less CDBG fund this and that so more people can get help. Right now, I think very little people can help. So hopefully we can get more. So anyway, I yield my time. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Lopez Viado.
I had a quick question. So I know they show us two formulas, Formula A and B, that HUD calculates. Did they look at us and do an A or B, or is it both that they take into the consideration of this whole formula? Because I know it says population weighted at 25%, people in poverty weighted at 50%, overcrowded units weighted at 25%. That's Formula A. And then Formula B is population growth lag since 1960, weighted at 20%, people in poverty weighted at 30%, and pre-1940 housing units weighted at 50%. So I just wanted to understand this whole logic.
They run both formulas, it's my understanding, and they go with the one that's best for the agency.
Okay. So would you know which formula that they looked into?
No, I don't. I'd have to run those numbers.
I'd like to see that. I'm just curious on what formula and what they're looking into. And so they're the ones, so they gather all these formula, or does the city give them this, or they just calculate and then?
They get the information from the city by way of the census. And then some of these other housing metrics they get from other sources. But no, we don't provide them anything directly in terms of a formula.
But the city provided a formula that listed all of A requirements and then a Formula B of all their requirements, right?
No, we did not. They pull this information. This is just to show the logic or how they arrive at their.
So that was from the 2020 federal census. Is that what you're saying? 2 years ago, when the federal government did the every 10-year census, that's where they got the data to plug into one of these two formulas?
I don't know if it's they have a running census, the American Community Survey, that's done by a portion of people each year. And I think the most recent one is 2015 that they're working off of.
Okay, so it's different.
But it is.
Yeah.
Would we be able to get from them exactly what they used, so we could plug it in ourselves, just to be sure they're calculating it properly?
Sure. I can ask our representative, or I could try to extract this information off different data sets.
Okay. Yeah, either way, whatever works. Well, thank you. Councilman Tabatbay.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I think this is why it's so important that every resident fills out the survey, fills out the census. We really do need those numbers, and it comes back to you. I know during the census time, we really try to push that, but maybe now as we're talking about real money, people will understand why that's so important. The second thing that I had, I know our capital improvement projects was mentioned. I believe our 5-year plan is online, so people can access. So for those of you, we do have a long-term plan on CIP projects, the ones that are in the works right now, the ones that are coming. our parks and how they're being redone. I know Del Norte and the dog park and our streets and all of that is available online. I know a lot of work was put into that, and I just want to make sure that the residents know staff is really looking forward and putting in that work. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to just add one sentence, okay, and very simple. It's a squeaking wheel get the grease. So if we can squeeze a little bit, hopefully we can get some funding back to us. So if we don't ask, we never have a chance to get something we can get the funding to service our residents. So hopefully, city manager, we can have our lobbyists in Washington to maybe they can do something to help us to squeeze some of the funding back to us. That's my request.
Thank you, everyone, for your comments. Do I have a motion to approve this?
I'll motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Lopez Viado and a second by Councilmember Tabatabai. Councilmember Tabatabai?
Aye.
Councilman Wu?
Aye.
Councilwoman Lopez Viado?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Diaz?
Aye.
Mayor Castellanos? Passes 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 12, under departmental regular matters, it's consideration of designation and alternates for a League of California Cities 2022 annual conference. Let's see here. City manager, who will present the report.
Mayor, I think you just gave the report.
That's it?
The
Okay.
annual league conference, we'd like for you to designate among yourselves who might be able to attend. The business session is typically on Friday.
I want
Have a volunteer.
I want to nominate our Mayor Pro Tem Rosario Diaz to represent us. Okay, I think it's about time for you to go to see the the League of City and to represent us. That's my motion.
I agree. I think you'll learn a lot. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second. I mean, it's nice to have a mayor or mayor pro tem represent the city.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Sorry, it's at Long Beach or Sacramento this time?
Long Beach this year.
Oh, you're lucky. You don't have to travel.
We also get a second
A delegate.
a delegate, an alternate voting member. So we've got one, and I'm hoping you can find another one among you.
Who want to volunteer? Anyone? Councilwoman Lopez Viado, have you had the chance to do that? Would you be interested?
As an alternative, it's tough right now to leave. As an alternative, September, that's a Wednesday. I can nominate
Would you?
Councilman Tabatabai.
Tabatabai, would you be the alternate?
Well, I do have a Friday night football game that night.
All right, then I'll nominate myself.
Oh, okay. I'll nominate the mayor. As I said, it's nice to have the mayor and mayor pro tem. The mayor's title represent the city.
All right, I'll be the alternate, no problem. Okay. If you can't make it, I'll show up. Do we need a roll call for that?
Hearing no objection.
Cool. Sounds good. That takes us to number 13, which is a request I had, which I would like input from my fellow council members on. I'd like to request for staff to review our city park and field use policies. I know there's some issues that probably need to be ironed out. And as I mentioned, I would like to request the input of my colleagues. So do I have a second for this request?
Second,
but
go ahead, you second.
I'd like to,
Anything you'd like to add, please do.
yes. So I know last year I made a request similar to this. Granted, I thank you for putting the full purview of this whole policies and procedures. But I know I requested in regards to the youth sports, the type of partnerships we have, because I know certain groups do more and others don't. So at that time, I was looking at the fair use of the type of partnership, because at that they didn't pay for any field use. The second issue was the field refurbishment, which I know because we had Mr. Williams speak on this, among other things, that should be taken into consideration. It is sad to see. I know these parks are open for families, friends to hang out, but once other organizations start using it as an organized play, then it crosses the line. And I personally been in that situation at my facility. My facility is closed on Sundays, and this private baseball league was using our fields, and they even posted their schedule with our address without any permit. So I do agree, and it is hard to get staffing and all that stuff. So I do agree with Mr. Williams in possibly getting a volunteer or so forth to kind of oversee and watch the parks. I mean, I'd like, and one more thing is I'd like the city to see if they can reach out to RBI Dodgers. RBI Dodgers, City of LA partners with that, and I actually had to Google in the San Gabriel Valley where an RBI Dodgers site is, and it's a partnership with the city, which pays for officials and staffing, and it gives like for uniforms, and it allows the cost for the children to play at a reasonable minimal cost. And if we can get that partnership, and I think when I looked at the San Gabriel Valley area just around us, La Puente had one RBI Dodger site. So if we can have possibly one of our fields be a Dodger site, it's a great partnership, and that we can utilize. I know it's different here. We don't really run our own leagues. It's kind of like all partnered out outside. But if we can have this win-win situation, that would be great. And if that does occur in regards to volunteers, we do like to see those volunteers like fingerprinted, background checked, and everything, because these are our youth, and we don't want to see any incidents or issues occur. So the RBI Dodgers is what I'd like to see if you could bring that in, because it saves the city costs. It's a win-win for the organizations as well.
Great idea. Hopefully that comes to fruition.
Cool.
Any other comments or any additions to ideas of what we should work on?
Thank you, Mayor. I think one thing that would be important for us and residents is if we could get kind of a full, transparent presentation on which organizations do have, not necessarily exclusive use, but like Orangewood, West Covina Youth Soccer, and during those time periods, and what was the process for them to be able to get that field space? How does it really inclusive of the entire community, even though it might be a West Covina Bruins, right, and it's not city run, but it is made up of, right, 80% of the Bruins come from West Covina, right? I think those are things that are important for residents to know, because again, oftentimes residents are seeing these leagues thinking, well, these are not West Covina. We're subsidizing these families from other places, when in reality, these are mainly our residents. And so I think as, part of, an annual, presentation to really, and then it also promotes these leagues, right? New families move in, and they can see, oh, wow, we have, youth football, we have all these youth baseball leagues, right? The park maybe near me has the youth baseball league, right? As a new resident, it isn't as easy to find out which parks and where we can do those things. Yeah.
Councilwoman, yes.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I know last time when I put in the request, they did present like these centers. I mean, these parks have these leagues, and we had this discussion, and then I did ask like the permit fees, and they said they haven't been updated. So actually, we never got that back in knowing what the permit fees, because I also mentioned, some leagues take advantage of the free field use and doesn't allow space for any other permit groups to play. Because I've had concerns with any park that they just utilize everything to the maximum capacity, even when they have a smaller team compared to a larger team. So the fairness of that wasn't put through. And the fees to play in a private league is just it's a lot, and city gets nothing out of it. And I did mention that last meeting when we had this discussion, like when we have fields or permits or anything like that, we take a very small percentage. It could be, $3, or well, we take about $5 only per hour. So that goes into field refurbishment. So we can always yearly take care of our fields. As I see these leagues, they go up, they're over $100, and it's like almost every year it just goes up. And nothing is going to city. And I do remember that they were going to bring this up and talk about it, but I didn't get a feedback and any updates.
Now will be the time we could all push for all these ideas to
put it together,
get responses, and keep it going. So, great input, Councilman Tabatabai.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just to kind of piggyback on that, I know that the travel sports industry, I think that's kind of what you're referring to. We're subsidizing really a for-profit industry where people are making quite a bit of money, and those leagues actually don't necessarily aren't really for residents, right? A lot of those athletes come from I have friends from way outside the city that play in some of the travel leagues that are in West Covina. And so, that's something I think needs to be addressed. I think also the private training, we need to have something. I know you mentioned about these private trainers they come onto the fields, they take up the space as if it's theirs, they advertise online, hey, Cortez Park, private trainings. And again, we're subsidizing these private businesses. These are our facilities. They do a lot of damage to the facility. And again, to make sure that we have that in our code, so that way we can go ahead and
an ordinance.
Yes, make an ordinance, code enforcement, PD can go out, issue fines. When we do see our field being promoted by outside organizations, the city attorney, right, can write letters of cease and assist and things like that. So.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Councilman Wu?
Yeah, just a quick one. My request, to add on is just maybe have some of our league organizers invite them to give some input. I know you have a lot of input, you want to do it. Please invite them to join the discussion. So listen to your suggestions. So, we have all the input. So we base on that, and
stakeholders.
Correct, because they are stakeholders. So we need to listen to their input.
Yeah, they have the experience.
Correct. So in that way, let them to kind of help the city put everything to be fair for everybody and to utilize. We want people to utilize. We want our children to utilize. I think this is. I want to add on with the invitation of all the organizers to participate and input about what will be fair for everybody to utilize our 16 parks. We want everybody to utilize. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's time. So it looks like we have great ideas and consensus. So we don't need a motion.
Hearing no objection, I have a motion by Councilwoman Lopez Viado. I have a motion by Mayor Castellanos and a second by Councilwoman Lopez Viado.
Sounds good. It seems like all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, 5-0. Let's see here. So. We've talked about a lot, but are there any requests, comments, or reports by council? Yeah, comment. Go ahead.
We went through the July 4th celebration. Yesterday, I just want to thank the staff. The staff, unbelievable. They did a magnificent job to put the street clean, and after we done about 8:10. And they have to stay there to clean up the place. So I just want to show my appreciation and myself, and I think council too. To the big thanks to all the staff. They're really working so hard. And I want to thank Eric to dress like our Uncle Sam. In the 100-degree weather. He have to running around the entire time. So thank them. Thank him. To do that for us. So. Hopefully, we don't have to pay for extra. So, and the next thing about the summer council. I want to thank staff again. Our first one is Country Nation. It's just unbelievable. Great music. I cannot believe it. Last time I turned me into the country boy because the music is great. And I was dancing all night with a resident. And this is a good event. Again, I want to thank the staff because they're over there, set it up, and then they have to finish up and clean it up. So Thank you so much, staff, to bring all this magnificent event to our city. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Tabatabai.
Yeah, I don't know if I had to formally do this, but I did want to request a presentation from La Cara on their performance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
Thank you. And also just want to thank staff, not only the hard work, but, I think Eric, but the entire staff was very positive and just really gave a great vibe. I know whenever my son, interacts with staff members, I mean, they're really good with the community. That's not easy, but they really just put a positive feeling whenever you're dealing with any one of our staff members. So I just want to, again, thank you for the hard work and just the positiveness staff always brings to events.
Agree with that, too. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead. And then after that.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to thank our staff also for this 4th of July celebration that we had. I know our maintenance crew was out there at 6 o'clock in the morning getting all this together, and they worked really hard. I really appreciate that. And Eric was fantastic as our Uncle Sam. He really was. And it was just a beautiful event. I hope most of you attended. And I just want to say thanks to all our staff. They worked very hard. And I also want to congratulate our new officers that have been installed today. I want to wish you well. And West Covina PD only hires the very best. And I'm really proud that we have hired these 5 officers. And I also want to congratulate the non-sworn ladies that were also part of our hiring today. So thank you again.
Thank you. And Councilwoman Lopez Viado.
So, in regards to the 4th of July, I just wanted to let our residents know we really wanted to have fireworks, and we were pushing for that. Of course, it didn't pull through, but if you probably read the news, other cities that were supposed to have fireworks show, pretty much it's confiscated, that they couldn't. But, I am happy that West Covina still did something. Certain cities still are not back into their normal groove after COVID, so to have something is good. I would like to make a request. I mean, obviously next year we have to have the fireworks show, and that should be booked and planned, now. And if not, it'd be nice to have a day of like a mini firework with a Safe and Sane under the jurisdiction of our city during the 4th of July, so we can have an area for the kids to just do the mini fireworks inside that area. Because if you ban that and everybody looks forward to that, you should have something, an outlet or an alternative, and we need to have that next year. In regards to also fireworks, I know City of LA banned fireworks. I don't know if we could put a request to possibly LA County. I know we had a big brush fire. That's not our city, but it was LA County's jurisdiction that, went into West Covina.
Very scary.
And it's very scary, and it should be, an area should be designated. Like the city of West Covina should have an area for designated fireworks the day of. But if LA County can possibly put that in, if we could request that they can just ban it altogether, as a lot of cities are doing that, and then have a fireworks show, or maybe work with other cities to have like a grand fireworks show, or a designated day and area to have like mini fireworks with the community.
I think we have basically all agree, and next year as a centennial celebration, I think we should bring the firework back, and then we can let the city to decide where is a safe place to put this magnificent fireworks show. I think this is the way it requires, rather than small firework. Again, we don't know how to control it, but I think we control with the fire department. I think fire officers agree. I think, we can request city to right away to negotiate and book, and for our centennial celebration, was the 100 years birthday of West Covina.
It should be grand.
I think we should have a nice show and a nice celebration. And then we can find a place, either sportplex or maybe some high school willing to let us do it to be safe. But it's kind of tough because they all remodel, make it so nice. Okay, they don't want us to be there and they destroy their property. So we have to find a place. So if it was come to worse, then we should use in the sportplex to have a celebration with music, vendors, everything.
Well, last time we had at the Sportsplex with music, vendors, and a big firework, it was packed.
Yeah, it's a spectacular
full house.
But I heard about some fire department. Our fire department are a little bit worried about the hillside. That is we need to clear with them. So hopefully, we don't create the wildfires in the back of those. We want to be safe first. But again, I think we all agree. And let's bring the fireworks show back next year and to celebrate our centennial celebration.
Thank you.
And then my request earlier regarding the mental health, if we can get that for. Yes, please. Thank you.
All right. Cool. Sounds good. Looks like we've addressed everything. This concludes our meeting. We are adjourned.